Hi, this is Joe Davis with GotBaseballCards.com. I'm a lifelong sports card collector and hobby veteran for over 30 years. We are very excited to offer you this channel to provide you the finest in sports card news and entertainment. Thanks for watching. Greetings, everyone. It's Sports Cards with Joe
and Doug.
And we are back in the studio today. And Doug, once again, our topic is graded cards. Today we're going to be looking at one of the four companies that we're proud to represent, SGC. And Doug, I know you see a lot of these coming in the doors.
I see a lot. We see a lot of slabs coming back from SGC. I look for that address, and I know the box is just full of cards for our wonderful customers, and they only submitted them 5 or 6 weeks ago, so I actually remember a lot of the cards that are coming back.
Exactly. And just to be clear, we're proud that we work with 4 different companies. For those who may be watching for the first time, we proudly represent PSA, BGS, CSG, and SGC. And today we're focusing on SGC for one reason. We get asked all the time. We try to give you a real-time snapshot of the graded card marketplace and what's going on. And we are seeing more and more customers turn to SGC as an alternative, and I know you can see that from the volume we've been checking in.
Definitely. Lots of cards being graded with SGC. And everyone that comes in wants to grade with PSA or might want to grade with PSA, wants to know their options, and they have a lot of questions about why I should or shouldn't grade. Which card should I grade with either PSA or SGC or any of the other companies? And so we thought maybe today we'd try to just make it simple and look at it from a numbers perspective and kind of give you a few examples of which company might be good for your card and your investment.
Right. Because to be very clear, we know that the best resale on the market in general is still PSA and in general followed by BGS. However, right now with PSA and BGS only offering basically everything we offer from them is a minimum of $100, and that's BGS, and $180 with PSA. Of course, our pricing includes grading, shipping, insurance, and so forth, back and forth to the companies. But with that pricing in mind, a lot of collectors are coming in and saying, I've got, for example, a 57 Clemente, which is a great card. Maybe it's not really high grade like this one here that we're showing, which is a 3. And they still want it graded though, and they're like, I can't spend $100 on that card, or I can't spend $180 on that card, but I want it in a reputable holder, and I want it back in a reasonable amount of time. So just last week, I was down in Florida helping a collector with his collection, and he had a boatload of vintage singles, vintage sets. Some of them are absolutely gorgeous, some of them are mid-grade. So we're helping him, and a lot of that mid-grade stuff is going off to SGC. So, Doug, let's talk numbers.
Yeah, I like to look at it one card at a time, just so we can see where the math falls for choosing PSA or SGC. So the example would be is if you could take the same card and grade it with both companies, and let's just say that your PSA slab comes back and it's a Gem Mint 10, and your SGC slab comes back and it's a Gem Mint 10. And the PSA value of that card roughly has been selling for around, let's say like $600. So in order for you to see the
benefit from the grading,
benefit and the cost, you've got to recover the cost of grading. We've got $180 for one card with PSA, and we've got $30 with one card from SGC.
Yeah, right.
That's $150. So if you sold the SGC for $450, you'd be making the exact same money if it sold with PSA for $600.
Right.
And we used $600, and we have seen SGC cards selling. We just decided to use 25% below a PSA number. And that's how the math works out to where that becomes somewhat of a threshold for decision making, whether or not you might want to send it to PSA. I still am not saying that there's just a black and white line at $600. There's still a lot of other intangibles, like the chance that it doesn't grade a 10. You're risking a lot more money at $180 than you are at $30.
Yeah, and to make our point, if you've got higher dollar stuff, a lot of times customers send us stuff and they say, I need you to decide where I submit it. And we have to make decisions whether it be PSA, SGC. There's times BGS works really well if it's a beautiful auto and they want that auto subgrade and it's a nice high-grade modern card. Sometimes that seems like the best alternative. So we're always juggling the math and saying, we want to help the customer. We want to figure out what's the best place for it. But that's a great example, Doug, because a lot of customers, I have this discussion all the time where they say, I just want the best resale. I just want the best resale. And I'll say, okay, in general, most of the time, the best resale is PSA. Not always, but just a market average. Most of the time it's PSA. Right now, as we do this in October of 2021. But as you said, if you're sending in a $50 card, a $30 card, whatever, it's really hard to make up the ground that you lose on the front end investment. So right now we're seeing we're seeing more people turning to SGC and even CSG as well as alternatives for affordable grading from a reputable company. And SGC lately has kind of risen. I'd say the numbers we're seeing on them seem to be growing weekly. More and more customers are bringing in cards for them because they're understanding they're a great alternative. We personally have sent them a lot of cards. We're personally recommending, especially vintage. They're very strong in the vintage market, and so because there's a lot of times you don't see a big discrepancy. I mean, the most expensive vintage card ever sold was in an SGC holder, the Hannes Wagner. So, which recently sold.
Beckett slabs have sold for the most money ever. PSA slabs also. It really is more about the card itself and the holder. We understand pricing and the market will set the price. But I can tell you that there will be no options for the middle grade $50 and $100 card. They're going to be, right now, it's going to be SGC and or CSG. So what do you do, Joe, if you've got 100 or 200 or 300 cards that you're sitting on that are in that $50 to $100 price range?
Right.
Do you wait for PSA to come around?
Well, it's funny, Doug. I had an interesting discussion with my son who's really good at crunching the numbers and doing the math, and he gave me a great scenario. He said, if you're sitting on cards on the sideline and you say, I'm going to wait until PSA is $100 or PSA is $75, $50,
really,
whatever.
Honesty, we wanted to go back down to what they were before.
Oh yeah.
At $20.
That's what people are hoping. Yeah.
But let's just say we allow them to go back to $30 a card.
Right.
With your scenario.
In a year. Let's say it's because there's no way we're going to see it before that.
Absolutely.
Mark my word, you're not going to see it before a year. But if ever, there's a lot. When I was recently at the industry summit, I had debates with a lot of friends who said, PSA, other leaders in the industry said to me, you will never see PSA under $75 a card again. That was their opinion. I said, I think they may get down to 50, but it may be a year, 2 years. I don't know. Yeah, we don't know. This is all speculation. And so
back to Josh and his example.
So his example is, if you're sitting there and you're going to wait a year or 2 years and say, well, I'm going to get 25% more by waiting, and you're like, let's do the big picture math. If you grade the card, let's say with SGC right now at $30, and you have it back in your hand in 6 weeks, and you sell it, and say you only get 75%. Then you turn those dollars and you grade another card and you get 75%. And so every 6 weeks you're turning those dollars over and over and over. I'm talking about one card. Multiply that by those who are sitting on 300 or 400 cards. If you get those cards graded, you turn them in 6 to 8 weeks as we're getting cards back from SGC, and you only get 75% of the PSA price. But you keep turning it and you keep turning it, you're going to make a heck of a lot more money.
Do that 9 times in a year span.
Than waiting that year, like, oh, well, I can get that extra whatever percent, operating on the big assumption that you're still going to be able to grade that at a cheaper price with PSA, which we don't know is going to happen. If I'm a decision maker for PSA, which I'm not, proud to represent them, but if I'm a decision maker on their behalf, and we're just burning the midnight oil trying to get cards processed at express levels. Why in the world am I going to say, we're going to drop things another $50 when we can't keep up anyway? So, I mean,
nobody wants to hear that, Joe.
I know, but
nobody wants to hear that because we want our PSA.
I know.
I want my MTV, Joe.
Yeah, I know, and you want your PSA. So, but we're trying to give you real-time, real-world advice based upon the state of the industry. And I want to talk too about the integrity, the consistency we're seeing on SGC grading, because I'll tell you, I got to be honest, we had some customers who were like, man, they're just not an easy grade company. They're not easy. And I'm like, no, they're not. That's why they've been respected, and they've been around since '98. So their grading is very consistent. It's not easy. This is not a fly-by-night company. They've been doing this for 23 years. Their grading is consistent, which is why it commands respect in the marketplace. No, they don't have the marketing power of PSA, but they've been around, they will be around. And so, if you want consistent grading at a reasonable price point and at very good turnaround times, they are a great alternative. So
I agree, Joe. That's, when you're making decisions, you look at eye appeal to yourself, you look at the price of it, and you also look at the lead time. That is very, very important. A lot of times that is number one on people's list. And by far, yesterday I received some cards that had been submitted August 25th. So that's actually, they're very, very close to getting back to about a month lead time. Now, we do have some older ones than that have taken now 6 weeks or so I'm sorry if those are your cards. But I think SGC, after the National, which kind of put them a little bit behind.
A lot of their team was there doing PR work.
I think they're catching back up. So we used to say they're coming back in 3 to 4 weeks before the National. So a month lead time on getting a card graded for $30 is very impressive.
Yes. So again, we're going to be sharing other videos on other companies, but we wanted to give you this snapshot of SGC, where they're at in the industry today. Again, we are seeing more and more customers use them as a great alternative. And those of you, again, if you're sitting on the sideline, we've given you a little glimpse of the math of how it's actually costing. If you have high quality cards that need to get graded, it's costing you money by waiting. So get off the sideline, choose a company, make some decisions. We're here to help you with that. We're here to guide you with that. We pre-screen thousands of cards every week for customers and help guide you on where you should grade them.
Yeah, I feel strongly that going forward with this hobby and you and your collection, you might want to be a little more selective. Maybe not send in as many unproven rookies that you're hoping will be the next best thing. Maybe just screen your cards even harder. It's even more important today to have your cards screened and to get the highest grade possible. That's another thing that I think that it slides a little bit under the radar is how many cards we reject for things that we see, and we save the customer that $30 a card, and when you reject 10 out of 50 cards that they send in, that saves them $300, and that helps the overall benefit to grading. So definitely, it's time to decide, which company you prefer to have your cards graded with, and let's get them in, let's get them submitted so we can get them back, and you can benefit from the resale of them.
That's right. Yeah, Doug, talking about the pre-screen. Just this morning, I walked in the door this morning, and we had an order going back to a customer. We'd rejected 56 cards for him, and man, Eli's tough on those pre-screenings. So we try to help. We go through them with a fine-tooth comb the way we look at them, and so we look for centering, we look for corners, we look for edges, we look for issues on the back, print dot, you name it. And so we do our best. We're not perfect, we're going to miss stuff, but we do save customers thousands of dollars. I can't recount how many fake Jordans have come through just in the last couple months that we have saved customers hundreds of dollars each, and we're happy to do that. That's part of our service. So Again, this has been a snapshot of SGC in the graded card market. We'll be back with other great content featuring other companies and letting you know what's going on with them. But just remember, we are your source for grading. You can go on our website, GotBaseballCards.com. We have links for all 4 companies that we work with more details, and you're welcome to shoot us emails at GotBaseballCards@gmail.com. And if you like this content, please share with your friends and please subscribe, as we will be back with more great content in the near future. So, Doug?
You said it very well, Joe. These are beautiful cards you got out on display. Just encourage you to decide, maybe pare it down a little bit, but get your cards in. We'll be happy to help you with it.
Yep. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.